Hi everyone, this is David. I'm the online marketing manager at Zerto. Today we have our first get to know your Zerto ecosystem with Bluelock. I'm happy to introduce Pat O'Day, Chief Technology Officer of Bluelock. And in his free time, Pat is a 3D printing and Twitch streamer enthusiast. Welcome, Pat. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Yeah, thanks, David. Hey, everybody. How are you?
Bluelock offers a great cloud hosting and recovery as a service product. Can you give us an example of a customer using it in a unique way?
Yeah, so we started to do a lot of work with Goodwill Industries. Most of you probably have a Goodwill office in your hometown. If you're not familiar with them, they're a not-for-profit. You can drop off gently used goods to one of their offices. They will clean them up or repair them and then try to find someone in need who could actually use them. So baby clothes, toys, furniture, anything like that. And they found themselves getting into the, I don't know if you'd call it the retail or e-commerce business online. And that was when we first met them, because when they realized they went from being a standard IT shop to someone hosting a revenue critical application, think in terms of an eBay or an Amazon.com, they realized they needed disaster recovery in order to make sure that application was available all the time. The really interesting thing about their journey was, as we started to do the disaster recovery work for them, they started to explain their entire IT strategy to us. And the simple version of the story is 5 years ago, they actually had a New Year's Eve party for the year 2016. And they had the entire IT organization, they had all the business unit owners within the company. They all came together and they pretended that they were celebrating what they had accomplished over the next 5 years, but they were actually in the future at the New Year's Eve party in 2016, and they had snacks and everything. They did it for real. And they had a whiteboard, and on the left side they wrote all 5 things, or as many things I think as they could fit, of what they thought they would be able to do 5 years into the future, which is basically today. And then on the right side, they wrote all the things that were sort of weighing them down at that moment that they didn't think they would have to do 5 years from then. So fast forward to today, what that turned into was a strategy around leveraging software as a service and other as a service models to allow them to move more up into the content, the business, solving problems for their customer base, things like that, and not so much focused on break fix, keeping the lights on, all those sort of down on the ground activities inside the data center. And as they went to online email, different as a service offerings, they realized that certain applications still needed to be hosted by them, and that's where we use Zerto to protect all those assets that were in their data center.
Wow, that's a pretty unique idea on their part.
Yeah, it was really amazing to watch, and the journey's continuing now. We had the fortune of having their CIO come and do our company kickoff. So he spoke there, and he told us, basically the story that I just told you, but with all the color about the people involved and what the experience was like. But the thing that really amazed me was at the very end, where he paused, we applauded, and he looked at us super serious and said, "Hey guys, I just want to clear up for you what business you're actually in. You think you're in infrastructure, you think you're in disaster recovery, you think you're in security. You're not. You're in the business of allowing me to do this." And then he went and wrote on the whiteboard the 5 highest priorities they had as a company going into the next 2 years. And he said, if it wasn't for you helping me, I wouldn't be able to go do these things. And I thought that was really powerful, and really it's the point of why Bluelock is here.
Wow, that's incredible. All right, moving on. What, in your words, makes your cloud service product unique and different from anything else that's out there?
Yeah, so what we've learned in the market, so we've been doing disaster recovery for about 7 years, we started with array-based replication, kind of some traditional ways that people used to do it. And of course, we've modernized everything using hypervisor-based replication with Zerto. And the biggest difference along the way is that it used to be enough just to replicate the data and have a reasonable chance of powering things up on the other side. But as that has become the new normal for based on technology that's more modern and able to make sure that just works, what people are doing is they're starting to get higher expectations from the business. So if you think about a business leader or a leadership team, are they comparing IT to how IT was 5 years ago, or are they comparing their IT department to what they can get from Dropbox, Salesforce.com, Google, etc., in terms of uptime, availability, and performance? Well, we all know the answer. They're comparing you to all the modern applications that have virtually unlimited budgets to support their infrastructure and innovation. So what we realized was that it wasn't just the ability to recover the data, it was the ability to assure that that would occur. So we started to invest in process controls, change management, testing, automation, all the things that increase the likelihood that those machines would power up, increase the quality and the performance so that when they came up they would perform at full production capacity, because the expectations for our clients has risen dramatically because of the expectations around availability in the market have increased so much.
Oh, cool. Can you give us any insight or information into big news coming out of Bluelock? And we're a quarter of the way through 2015, but through the rest of 2015?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for us is really just that recovery assurance concept, but it's also a new, I don't want to use the word paradigm, but it's essentially what it is. A lot of companies not only are expecting higher quality in terms of the core application recovery and the responsiveness and the assurance around that, but they're also expecting that all the services they get in their production data center are available when you power up your DR environment. So if you think about a typical DR environment, most people would judge it based on whether or not you can recover. But when you look at the idea that you might need security services, you might need to be in a compliant environment, you might need backups to work. Those are things that people don't typically invest in a DR site because it's seen as sort of a temporary or necessary evil, maybe even insurance. So what we're investing in is basically building out, we already have many of those services that are immediately available when you power up your DR environment, but we're adding to that service portfolio so that your DR environment looks more and more like production, maybe even a little bit better.
It's a nice little, edge there. The ending, you're leaving us on a cliff.
Yeah.
I'll
give you one example.
Okay.
So most of our customers, when they fire up their DR environment, it actually performs better than production. And then they wonder, that's the opposite reaction, right? They expect to be battling performance issues. And the reason is we're already at cloud scale. So we've already done the automation. We're on the latest and greatest software from VMware. We have the updated firmware, all the things that you would expect your data center to have. But because you're being forced to work on all these other things, you might not, they might not be the highest priority. The business might be concerned about the risk of change. So when they come into our environment, it's typically in better shape than maybe your data center is. So your apps perform better. And it's kind of a surprise to people.
So to kind of throw a curveball at you here, if you believed in reincarnation and can come back in another life as an IT product, what IT product would it be? And you can go into why.
Okay. I have two answers, I think. So I've always, there's a guy here by the name of Ben Miller that I've worked with probably for almost 15, if not 20 years. And he and I always joke about the days when we first got into IT, that the best job in IT was the new laptop delivery person. And maybe today it's the phone, the iPhone 6 Plus or the new, Galaxy delivery person. But if I could come back as something and I just wanted to be kind of content and happy, I'd come back as the latest gadget at the moment it was delivered to somebody who was really excited to see it. If I took a step back, I would say, I don't know if you'd consider it a technology or software product. Maybe it's a cloud service, but the Matrix would be kind of cool. So to come back and either be in it or be it and be able to sort of see everything and understand everything, and a little bit deeper, a little bit broader than you can as a one individual human, that would be pretty awesome.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So, you have a lot of customers using your cloud-based DR product. Can you go into a little bit about how they're using it?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because you guys have done such a good job with the core technology of moving the data back and forth efficiently and making the ability to power another environment on really simple, and it works really well. So what people are starting to do is data migration. So I was just on the phone with a client yesterday. They've got workloads in India, they've got workloads in Germany, they've got workloads in the US, and they're looking at using Zerto as a more efficient way to manage and deploy the templates. They want to be able to build the core templates out in their offices in California and then efficiently distribute those around the world so that they're localized. And they looked at doing it through APIs, doing it through upload, download, all these, call it pretty traditional ways of doing it. And it either took too long or it overwhelmed, some resource. So they thought, well, hey, we'll just use Zerto because it works so great every time we test it for DR. So we're trying to figure out exactly how to do that. We have data centers on the east and the west coast of the U.S., and we have had customers looking at their performance. Once they understand where the majority of their customers are, they realize that they could actually shave off 10 or 15 seconds of latency if they swapped their production site with their DR site. So they'll actually just decide, hey, we're going to go ahead and run these applications on the West Coast instead of the East Coast. They log into the Zerto console. They, under controlled conditions, they simulate a recovery failover, move everything around, and then all the users start going to the other coast. So there's all kinds of things people are doing that's kind of stretching our vision for what the original use case of disaster recovery was. And that's pretty exciting.
What is the supernatural talent you'd like to be gifted with the most?
Oh, I'd love to be able to heal people. I know we've all been affected, extended family, friends and family, and we hear a news report one day that talks about how we're all going to live to be 150, and then the next minute you're hearing about somebody that's, that or that's in your extended family or your work ecosystem that's not doing so well. And the idea that you could in some way make the pain go away, maybe even fix it, I think that'd be pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And I think healing in superheroes is underrepresented. There's a lot of flying, not as much healing.
It'd make things a lot easier on them, I think.
Yeah. They're all bulletproof, so they probably don't think that's important.
What do you see as being the biggest enterprise cloud news for 2015?
Oh, yeah, great question. So I think security is the biggest news. There have been a large number of high-profile incidents that have occurred, and of course, security folks have been telling us for years, but I think it's really starting to sink in that just because you're compliant to one standard or another, or maybe multiple standards, doesn't mean you've actually got effective security controls in place. So what we're trying to do to support that at Bluelock is basically make sure that when you have a disaster or you fail over into our environment due to some sort of unforeseen circumstance, that you don't compromise the security that you have in production. So that same head end, those same security services, all those things are available, but in more of an as-a-service model, so you're not paying for them in multiple locations, even though you're not using them.
Interesting. No, security is definitely a topic I look forward also to seeing how it plays out this year.
It's got to get better.
So, moving to our last question, leaving us with something a little bit light. What's your favorite motto? The thing that carries you, I guess, through the good times and the less good times and gets you through the day.
Yeah, and you described it perfectly. I wasn't sure, you said, kind of more positive tone. This is one that I use that really can go either way. It is what it is. And to me, that just means, if you're having a great day, and it's the little moments that matter. I had a great customer service experience with Southwest Airlines last night. Completely blew my mind how one
Nice.
person inside such a large company could make such a big difference to me. And I've kind of been living off of that, and I went both ways, right? I was looking at, the challenge that my travel situation was going to create, and I thought, well, it is what it is. I'm still going to get there. And this guy, Brian, took me through this great experience. On the other side, I was like, hey, it is what it is. Sometimes, you get the right person on the phone, and freaking magic happens. So I like that phrase.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I appreciate your time today and wish you and Bluelock the best of luck in 2015.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, David. Good to see you.
You too.